My career was on a roll in 2019, and then the world shut down. And in America, everybody was debating, where did the virus come from? Was it a bat? Was it a lab? It came from my mother-in-law's kitchen. This woman was gonna do whatever it took to take me down.
Zarna Garg has sold out stages around the world, racked up billions of views, written a New York Times best-selling memoir, and launched 2 comedy specials on Prime Video and Hulu, all by turning her life into one of the funniest shows on the internet.
Oh no, there's a lot of fighting, but we save that for the TikTok. We don't fight unless we can monetize it anymore.
She'll unfollow me on Instagram. She'll message my brothers, I'm never talking to your sister again. Please let her know that I feel that way.
And she's brought along her daughter Zoya, the person who believed in her before she believed in herself, pushing her to step on stage at 44.
We were just trying to make a living. We were in such financial dire straits when my husband lost his job.
She did a open mic at the worst stand-up comedy club in the world, and there were 2 or 3 people in the audience that had bought the $5 ticket. And the people in the audience were just dying. They were falling off their chairs.
Join host Martin Luther King III, Arndrea Waters King, Marc Kielburger, and Craig Kielburger for a hilarious and heartfelt conversation about starting again, defying expectations, and what becomes possible when family believes in you first.
You can sit there and be consumed by the overwhelming nature of being stuck, or say to yourself,
welcome to my legacy. Today's guest has lived what most people would call an impossible dream. From surviving on her own in Mumbai at just 14 years old, to becoming one of the most original voices in comedy right now. Zarna Garg didn't just break through, she's become a cultural phenomenon. Zarna, in case you can't tell, we are thrilled to have you with us today. And as always on this show, our extraordinary guests bring along someone who has been meaningful in their journey. Zarna, welcome, and would you do us the honor of introducing your plus one?
first of all, thank you so much for having me. What an honor to be in this company and in this mix. I have brought with me my apprentice, my friend, although she's on a waiting list for the friendship, honestly. But my daughter, my oldest child, Zoya Garg, who's a recent graduate of Stanford University in computer science, in case anybody was wondering.
And classics, if anyone was wondering.
And classics, because she managed to sneak that in there. And her presence is important to me in this podcast because she was the one who helped me get started in comedy. As you can imagine, not a single South Asian woman on earth is waking up thinking, I hope I become a comic. That's not a thing in our culture. Like, having fun is not a thing in our culture. But my all-American kids saw it in me before I saw it in me or anybody else did. And for that reason, she's now part of my business. She just graduated Stanford. She's running my business now and helping it grow and enter a digital phase.
Wow.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being with us. We're honored to have you and have this conversation.
And congratulations
Yes.
on your recent graduation.
On this show, we like to go all the way back to where it kind of started. So I want to ask you about a moment that was both heartbreaking and life-changing. You were just 14 years old when your mother tragically died. Your father told you that you had 2 choices: get married by arrangement or leave home. Can you take us back to that moment and facing that choice?
So this story is completely accurate, but the truth is that I wasn't heartbroken then because I thought he was kidding. I didn't believe that he meant that. He was also shocked from losing his wife, my mother. So when he said all that, I was like, oh, this is a moment. This is going to pass. Like, there's no way he means this. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't actually heartbreaking as much as it was like, what am I supposed to do? Because we were both grieving in our own ways. I was shocked that my mom, I didn't even know she was that sick because they don't tell the kids anything back home. They don't actually, like, how in America it'd be like, who's going to talk to the kids? That's not a thing in India. The kids are kind of in the background. They just hear whatever's in the air. So I didn't even know she was as sick as she was. And then I heard one day that she's no more. So I had my own shock, and then he had his own shocks. And I didn't leave my house like wanting to take a big stand. But at 14, 15, if your parent tells you, do this or else, you immediately think, well, I don't have to be here. I have so many friends I could be hanging out with. And that's kind of how that moment erupted and grew. Because I told him, no, I'm not getting married. And he's like, if you don't get married, you can't live here. I was like, fine, who wants to be here anyway? I have so many friends. And it kind of was one of those moments that then never reversed course. As time went by, I realized how serious he was. And then the reality of my limited options started setting in over time, immediately after those days.
Just on that note, because I understand, and after that, you spent a year homeless, and then eventually agreed to marry somebody that your father chose.
Yeah.
But in that process, just before the wedding, your visa to the United States came through.
That's
So take
it.
us back to that time, and what was your first few months in America like?
So it was almost 2 years, actually, a year and a half plus of grifting, of what in America is called couch surfing. So it wasn't homeless in that traditional way that I was literally out on the streets, but I was like trying to lob pieces together with, this person can take me in on Monday, but if you can take me in on Thursday, then I'm going to find like a bridge in between. My mom had a lot of goodwill with her friends, so there were a lot of people concerned for my well-being, but they were also very afraid of my dad. My dad was a very powerful, rich man in that world. So they didn't want to like take the daughter in permanently, but they also couldn't just shut the door in my face. So it was a lot of push and pull. And at some point I gave up. I was like, I can't, you wear out, the system wears you out. Like at some point you're exhausted. You're like, this is not happening. So I did go back to my dad and I was like, I actually remember saying, you win. I didn't know what else to say. So I was like, you win, whatever you want to do, and he didn't see it as a win, just to be clear. He was not a mean person. He was not a horrible person. In his eyes, he was doing what was right for his kid. Back where I come from, even today, a lot of women get married in their teen years. This is not an unusual thing. Certainly 14, 15 was a little younger than the norm, but we were not talking about a world where it's never been done. It's been done all the time. So he was very, very much like, okay, now you've come to your senses. But the day I met the guy that he had set me up with, and he, I'm sure, is a lovely man today, married to a woman my age. That's the day I got a telegram saying my visa had been approved.
Wow.
Because I had been trying for so long, and my sister living in America was trying to help me and trying to figure out like how the paperwork works. It's like getting a proper visa to come to America is not easy, especially from India. There's so much paperwork involved, so much proof involved.
Wow.
When you were hearing and have come to understand your mom's trials and tribulations, ups and downs, how did that change your perspective and your relationship with her?
Well, she wouldn't tell me anything. When you're growing up in America, you are told to ask questions, especially about your family's history and your family's background.
And your mom is shaking her head, for those of our listeners who are listening, and your mom is shaking her head as you're saying that.
Yeah, because, you want to know where you came from. But when I would ask her questions, she would say, yes, no, focus on your homework. Why are you asking me these questions? And over time, I became persistent enough that I would get fragments. I would say, oh, where were you born? I was born in India. Okay, how did you get to America? Oh, it's a long story, but I lived with your aunt. And, I would start to pick up the puzzle pieces. And when I was growing up, I started to realize, hold on, these puzzle pieces look very different than a lot of my peers. There's something different in this story. And it became so obvious when I was kind of a teenager and she was starting to start her own businesses that something was very different about her resilience and the way that she thought about building things. It was just way more fearless than anything I'd ever seen in my life. So to answer your question, I didn't know anything, and it took me probably 15 years. And then after the book came out, I finally got the whole story with everyone else.
Wow. And let me tell you something, as a mom, you're going to keep discovering more and more things you don't know. Because our daughter, like every other, she's like, oh, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know. So you think you know? There's still more to uncover.
And you can't tell these kids anything.
Yeah.
Everything traumatizes them. Everything gives them anxiety. Like, what am I
Yes.
going to tell her? What am I going to tell her that, like, it was, my son, her little one was like, how do I not know any of this? Because he read the book, his classmates were reading the book. And I was like, don't read the book because like it was not easy. But if I tell you that, like that's $10,000 of therapy that I'll have to pay for.
I have to ask this question. You were 22 years old when you posted a personal ad.
Yeah.
Some of our listeners may not know what that is, but that's like before the dating apps. And in the ad, I'm going to read exactly what you wrote because I think is great.
Yeah.
To some, I am too short or too plump, too dark or too argumentative. But enough about me. This is what I need from you. Kindly include your most recent tax returns and medical records. Now, your future husband responded, is this ridiculous ad for real? And that was over 25 years ago, and you all are still together. What's the biggest mistake you see young people making when they're looking for a partner?
There's this idea that you can cast a wide net, meet everybody, and then the right one will show up. I actually believe the opposite. I think cast a very narrow net. Look for exactly what you want, or you think you want at least, because there's just no point lying about what might or might not work. You know the things that you are gravitating towards that make sense in your world. And also time is so limited. I remember I was like graduating law school. I didn't feel like at that time I thought, oh my God, my time is up, because the world I came from, 22 was being a spring, it was too late. So I think the big mistake people make is trying to be everything to everybody. You have to be something to somebody, one person, and that's it. No, I can read the things I needed from him because I think it was very specific, and I stuck to it, and I actually think it helped me. I mean, it's a different.
Did you get the tax returns and medical records by chance?
Yeah, no, well, he fought it. Honestly, he was not happy about it. Because he came from a modern America, and I was like, oh, whatever, you and your modern America. This is what I need from you. A husband and a partner, somebody who's ambitious but not ruthless, confident but not arrogant, and humble but not timid. Most of all, he is honest. 27 years later, too honest, but that's a different problem.
Oh, I understand that.
I am on a mission to build a very successful life, and you must be ready to go with me. Only contact me if you want to get married. No friends. Now include your tax returns and medical records. So that's the other thing. A lot of people in the dating world will be like, we should be friends. Like, no, this is not an app for friendship. Like, if some guy doesn't want to get married, like, why are we, and you want to, let's say that's what you want for yourself. Why would you waste time? You know what I mean? So I personally think people should be very specific about what they want. And believe and have faith that that's out there.
Yeah.
And not be scared about it.
Yes.
I don't know if the listeners can tell, but she was glaring at me really intently as she was giving this entire speech, because she thinks that she should have a pretty large say in who I date and especially who I marry. I should basically have no criteria of my own and should adopt hers as my only criteria. So we go back and forth on this a lot, because I actually think you learn a lot about yourself by dating people. And I don't think it needs to be so black and white and you need to find your partner to be married to immediately.
Your mom is shaking her head. Your mom is
Yeah,
shaking.
I have two daughters, and I have to admit I agree with your mom on this one.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How old are your daughters, Mark?
Oh, Zoya, thanks for asking. I've got 14 going on 28. My goodness.
That's a
And
fact.
I've got
That's a fact.
That's
11.
a fact.
That's the fact. Oh boy. Yesterday we had this lovely conversation about alcohol and whether it's appropriate at the age of 18 to drink alcohol as a quote unquote rite of passage. So, Zarna, what do you think about that one? If I could get your advice on it.
2 of my kids are adults and they're both yogis, and it's actually annoying. I used to think don't drink alcohol. Now I'm like, drink a little. Because this generation has taken a whole another extreme position where it's like, you can never touch this, you can never touch that. So if they catch me drinking, I get reprimanded. It's like, what? I think you'll see, Mark, when and you guys, when your kids go to college, there is
Yes.
a real non-alcohol movement. That's very real. Like, our generation grew up, we couldn't wait. That's
Yes.
just not the case that I find with these kids.
Zoya, watching your mom and dad's relationship, what are the biggest lessons you've learned about what makes a marriage work that you want to carry into your relationships?
Don't talk to each other. They are so intensely loyal to one another, and yet I've never seen them hold hands. I've never seen them kiss. I've never seen them go on a romantic candlelight dinner. I have seen them do what I actually think are the important things, which are figure out how to build a life together. They're intensely loyal to one another. On a sincere note, and we talk about this on our family podcast too. It's a very open discussion, but during COVID, my dad lost his very, comfortable finance job. And his identity was very tied to his ambition and to his success in this job. And at this point, my mom's career had just started to take off, but was nowhere close to where it is now. And I think a lot of people would have taken my dad's, he really had to redefine what success looked like for him and come out from under, seeing his entire self-worth tied to this job. And for years, my mom and him, no matter how hard it got, figured out, how are we going to do this? How are we going to build a life for coming out of this? He launched his own podcast. He launched his own business coming out of this. My dad turned into a social media personality. I don't think, I want to explain how phenomenally interesting that is. It's so normal for American people to take creative ambition because we've normalized it, and that's a good thing. But for my dad, who went to IIT, which is the most renowned science and math college in the world, to go from a chemical engineer to a finance professional to now a podcast host who is helping people learn about money. The heroic trajectory of that, no one in his community had ever seen that. And that was entirely because of my mom's support and just loyalty and in designing together. But they've never done any of the fluffy stuff. There was none of the, in dating culture now, it's did he comment on my Instagram?
Oh my God.
Your mom is rolling her eyes.
He's blocked on my page. I don't want him to comment. Please, I don't want to hear whatever he's thinking. No way. We don't even follow. This is true. Your producers can check this. He unfollowed me.
And me.
Sorry, why did he
Why?
follow you?
I don't know.
What was his reasoning?
He's like, you post too much stuff about all this other stuff. I can't. It's too much activity on my page. And he just unfollowed me.
He only follows Bloomberg. And
He follows all these finance people.
That's so funny. Zoya, obviously, you not only adore your mom, but you've had a huge impact on her career. So if I'm not mistaken, at the age of 16, you, at her birthday, gave her 146 handwritten notes, nonetheless. Handwritten notes, encouraging her from her friendship group to become a comedian. So what did you see in her that nobody else had articulated clearly until you provided those handwritten notes?
I saw her funniness and her storytelling skills as something that could make us money. She was really a personality. From the moment I was born, my friends would always want to come to my house because we obviously had the best food, of course, obviously. But on top of that, they wanted to get advice from Auntie Zarna. They wanted to hear what she had to say on every topic, on who has a crush on who, what the mean teacher is saying. She just had this magnetism that was so obvious that, especially when I was 16, she had started several businesses at this point: tomato sauce company, matchmaking business, tutoring. And these businesses were not working because the products weren't the right fit. But what I would notice in all of these businesses that she started was people would buy whatever she was selling just because they wanted an extra minute with her. And
Wow.
it was just such a nascent idea. And for her birthday, when I was 16, at this point I had said, why don't you try stand-up comedy several times? Which she would always reply, that's not a job, right? You can't get paid to make people laugh. And I was like, we're in America. That's actually like the coolest job in the world. I had reached out to several of her friends and family members, but I didn't lead the question. I just said, hey, I'm assembling a gift for mom. Just write anything and I'll transcribe it. But I knew that everyone was going to comment on her personality, her warmth, and the ability that she had to make people feel good about themselves and feel good about the world we were heading into. And that's exactly what happened. When she started picking out the notes, it was like one by one, every single message was like, you are the funniest person that I know. And then very shortly after, she did a open mic at the worst stand-up comedy club in the world. It won't be named because I don't even think there is a name. And there were 2 or 3 people in the audience that had bought the $5 ticket. And she was just ranting, I remember, about me and her mother-in-law and math and how we all need to be doing more math. And the people in the audience were just dying. They were falling off their chairs. And I remember the club manager said, how long has she been doing this to me? And I was like, whoa, we have a business here. And then it just kept, and then, you know, everything else from that point onwards, I want to be really truthful. A lot of people credit me and my brothers, but to have taken that nascent idea and turned it into the empire that she has, that was entirely from her and her adaptability and resilience. I mean, I think she's actually a visionary. It's so hard for me to have an opinion now because I think she's so brilliant that I'm like, why should I have an opinion? Like, she should just tell me what to do.
And that's why mom controls the dating decisions, because mom can tell you what to do exactly.
But it seems like Zoya, the daughter, controls the professional.
Yeah. No, she does. She's running my whole company now. It's true.
And think about that, though, like literally, like from, you know, our age, like we were raised, like we give the children the advice.
Yeah.
So the fact that in this instance, your children really were the impetus to really give you the professional advice, and we see how the story has ended.
Well, it's ongoing. I mean, the story about her notes, I just want to say this is the reason she didn't get a perfect score on the SAT. She was too busy writing. She lost 10 points. I was so angry when I found out she was wasting time on these notes. But the story is still ongoing. It is unfolding because she's leading us into a digital world. That's why she's living in San Francisco. Because, you know, you have to adapt even to that. I'm a stand-up comic and you guys are podcasting. It's like, but we don't know what next year is going to look like, what the next iteration of this business is going to look like. So she's tasked with taking our company into the next generation, and that's what she's doing out there.
And one note I want to make on adaptability, because I actually think this story is super important and we don't talk about it enough. So early on in her career, when she was doing open mics, she started to actually gain some traction at the clubs. This was pre-pandemic. But then as soon as she got her biggest headlining gig, which was at Caroline's on Broadway, the clubs closed because the pandemic happened. And comedians had no idea what to do. I mean, this was their life's work, to perform in clubs, especially at her stage. We had all these recordings of her jokes. And my brother, Bridge, who was, you know, he was 14 at the time, and at this point he was addicted to TikTok. He was like, I think we should cut these jokes up and upload them on TikTok. And at this point in time, that was foreign, because for comedians, the idea was to save all your material so that you could sell tickets to your show. Comedians would never post their stand-up online. Why would you do that? You're giving away the goods for free. And my brother was insistent. He was like, if we are the first ones to put comedy online, mom might skyrocket and people might just see her as like the funniest comedian ever. And so he uploaded her first ever I've never said I love you to my husband joke on TikTok. This was 2 weeks into the pandemic. And I remember he uploaded it and it was like 100,000 views, 200,000 views, 1 million views, 10 million views. And we kept seeing the number refresh and we were like, is this the lottery? Did we just win something? Like, what's going on? Is this a scam? And it wasn't a scam. Like, the joke was being shared by millions of people around the world. And she was the one who started that movement. Now every comedian posts their jokes online, but if she had not adapted in that moment, that was one of the critical moments in the business. I don't even know if I would have a job right now if that hadn't worked out and she hadn't made that leap of faith.
And that came from your brother.
Yeah, but it came from my brother and her also being so fearless and seeing, like, if we don't roll the dice, we will not move forward. We can't do the same thing as everyone else because we're too late into this game, and that's not going to work for us.
I think we're all dying. Why have you never told your husband why you love him?
No, I would never do that. It's only been 27 years. There's no rush. No. Also, it's just not something we do. It's just not. I can't even. I was on a TV show, like a news show, and they're like, "Do you want to say it? Do you want to say it?" I was like, "No, I have no desire. We're good. We're really good."
She's never said it to me either.
They offered to call him so I could say it. I said, if I called him and said it now over the phone, he's going to think I'm in a car accident and I'm about to pass. Let's not shock him, please.
You're just saving it for a really good time.
Like, it really...
She said I love you to an Amazon customer service rep, by the way. That's the only person.
He found a missing package. Like, if you order a lot, that's worth something.
Your mom has talked about the wait list for friendship. You're on the list, but your brother Bridge is always number one.
You complain a lot. That's not helping you.
But Zarna, when you started comedy, listen, there were no female Indian comedians doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you also wear bindi on stage. You joke about mother-in-laws, arranged marriages, all the things that Indian women typically don't discuss in public. What was the initial reaction from the Indian community? And I'm very curious, and also did that change over time?
My community has been most supportive since day one, but they didn't really know what it was. We are not a people who go to clubs for fun, to drink, to hang out. That's not our world. It's not a world we are comfortable in. I had never stepped foot in a comedy club until the day I did the open mic. I didn't know what this thing was where people just sit around and tell jokes and pay money for it. But also remember, when I tried comedy, I had already failed at so many things. My community was fed up of announcements from me. The matchmaking was such a big, I made this big grand, I'm a matchmaker, send all your kids to me. And then it was the most traumatic experience for my community because I was telling everybody it was too late, they needed to lose weight, this guy is never going to find anybody. Oh my God. By the time I got to comedy, people were like, whatever she wants to do, it's great. You have our blessings, go do it. It started making sense when actually it was not the Indian community, but it was all the other Americans who started coming out and being like, oh my God, this is so funny. Because making mother-in-law jokes is not a new thing. It has existed in culture, just not in our culture. So we had a lot of non-Indians who would come out and be like, oh my God, like I'm telling you, the black community often tells me that they have an auntie just like me. Who's got a big mouth.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like, this was not new to a lot of communities. The Jewish community is always telling me that, like, I sound like a Jewish mom. So it kind of started turning, and then more and more Indians started coming out with the idea that, oh, we're just going to, like, sit and have fun on a Saturday night. Like, I've joked about this with Tina and Amy. I opened for Tina Fey and Amy Poehler for 2 years. And I told them, I said, Indians don't watch Saturday Night Live because we think Saturday night is for that extra SAT class. We would never waste a Saturday night on, like, having fun. Like, but now more and more they come out, and they come out in families. They bring their own mother-in-law. Oh my God, so many people bring their mother-in-laws to my show because they're like, give her a message. Like, they want to pay me extra to deliver messages to their, like, they'll bring their kids and be like, tell him not to do hischy.
Well, what do we need to know about mother-in-laws? This is really important.
Oh
give
my
us, give
God,
us mother-in-law 101. Just give us a quick schooling.
I'm telling you, my career was on a roll in 2019. I had just sold out Caroline's on Broadway, which was a big deal. And then the world shut down. And in America, everybody was debating, where did the virus come from? Was it a bat? Was it a lab? It came from my mother-in-law's kitchen. This woman was going to do whatever it took to take me down. And that is what a mother-in-law is. Right now, she's actively, I have more than 13,000 amazing reviews for my book. The handful of 1-star reviews have all come from the same region in India. As suspiciously close to where she lives. Is it a coincidence?
Oh gosh, I cannot wait until you're a mother-in-law.
I'm gonna be horrible.
It's gonna be a whole nother level. Yes.
I'm gonna be horrible. I can already see it because everybody my kids bring home is no good.
Nope.
No one's good.
Now, you said that you opened for Tina Fey and Amy Poehler on their tour. Now, these are two of the most successful, iconic women in comedy. Getting to watch them perform night after night and seeing how they work up close and personal, what's the one thing that you took away that stayed with you?
You can mix business and pleasure. I grew up in a generation that said don't mix business and pleasure because the men went to work, the women stayed home. That's the way I grew up. That's what I grew up seeing. Then now I saw these two women best friends who've built individually huge empires themselves, but a big reason they've been able to build it is because they have each other. Even to lean on through the tough times, sometimes to make that extra call for the other person. I really learned in fact, they inspired me to have the courage to say to my daughter, turn down every big tech job and come work with me. I don't know if I had not seen them up close, if I would have had the courage to make that big move for my daughter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the power of women in community, too. It's something.
And I think women and friends building together is a very real thing. And I mean, I saw them hang out with all their SNL friends, backstage. And they're all individually building their own things. But I think that they are so successful in part because they have each other. Yeah. And that is the opposite of what I believed most of my life growing up.
Yeah. Women, we build webs and men build ladders. So we build like webs and connections. And so, yeah.
Exactly. And I really saw it. And then it changed how I decided to build my business. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Zarna, speaking about your business, Zoya, obviously you've helped to build your mom's business. What's been the hardest part about being both her, of course, the daughter of your mother and her business partner?
We could really use an HR department. No, I think actually the hardest part for me has been learning how to define my own narrative, because so many people see what I'm doing with my mom as the most unusual thing. They can't even wrap their heads around the fact that I love working with my mom so much and I learn so much from her every day that it is the best possible thing for me right now. I think I have had the experience where I've gotten minimized to, oh, she's a Nepo baby. And it's like, whoa. We didn't even have anything until like a few years ago. Yeah. And so, to be honest, that's been a real challenge for me, is like staying the course and knowing that what we're building together is so important, and focusing especially on exactly the community she's talking about at our shows. For 6 months after I graduated Stanford, I went on tour, and I was at every tour stop learning about who is enjoying our products, like who is bought into our world. And the most fascinating thing I learned is so many people who came to that show it was their first ever comedy show. And to think that this art form is being introduced to so many people for the very first time, that has like historically, not to be a classicist about it, like that is how people have like overcome really, really hard moments, is through laughter together. Absolutely. And then the second, I did study computer science, so I did get traditional technology software options that looked really sexy at the time, to be honest. Like really great paychecks in San Francisco, build the future, right? Like it's just really cool. But it was November, and my mom's memoir, she had just finished writing her memoir. In order to have a book land successfully, there's a very long pre-order process that leads up to that book's publication. And that pre-order, if it's handled correctly, is what determines the success of the book. based on the pre-orders, bookstores will stock the book. They will, put it on all sorts of really amazing lists that help to sell the book in perpetuity. My mom was looking to hire somebody for this job, and she said, I think you should take this job, and I think you should try working with me. And I was like, what? You want me to sell a pre-order? What's that? I didn't even know what a pre-order was. Like, what is the concept of a pre-order of a book? You're going to sell something that doesn't even exist yet? That's wild, right? And she was like, no, I think you should take this job and learn how to sell. That's a skill that will be part of your life for the rest of your life. And so my senior year of Stanford, I set a goal to sell 10,000 pre-orders of her book. I flew all across the country doing pop-ups in every city. I think we did 4 or 5 live streams every single week. We collaborated and designed all sorts of viral moments with famous comedians. We used every AI tool in the book. There have been several write-ups about that and how we designed that process. And instantly, when the book came out in April, it made every single bestseller list instantly. And now authors around the world reach out to me and they're like, so how did you do it for your mom? And the reason I'm mentioning that is, especially with family businesses, it was incredibly important to see if we actually could work together. It wasn't like I just decided to take the job. Like, I actually had to really earn the job. And there were moments during that pre-order process that I was not doing a good job and I wasn't selling the books. And she was like, I'm going to give this job to someone else if you can't figure it out. So it wasn't, it was a build-up process.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Zarna, you've said that everywhere you go, daughters from immigrant families reach out to Zoya and tell her, because of what your mom said on stage, I was able to have a conversation with my parents that I couldn't have before.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you both, what has been the most meaningful message you've received?
I mean, I know that when I do private events, and I do very few now, but I do them, weddings and things, often there are elderly Indian people lined up to meet me, and sometimes they start crying, and they'll tell me, they'll be like, we've lived in America 60, 70 years, and we've laughed at jokes we don't understand for 60, 70 years. And, for the first time, we are laughing at something that feels like our story. And it really changed how I saw myself in the business. So, for my people, it's been a big thing. For our people, like Indian people, we don't talk to our kids in that way. Like, here in America, there is a lot of like, what do the kids think, and how are you going to take care of them? In India, they just grow. They kind of just background plants. They're potted and they grow. Nobody ever thinks about it. We have a family podcast, and the first topic we chose was, what do you know about sex? And 5 of us talked about it. And it was like, we had never done, I started the podcast on a whim. I just booked a studio in New York, and I said, let's just go and see what happens. My husband was shocked. Like, if you watch that first episode, he's like, I thought we're going to talk about like Diwali or New Year or Christmas or something. What is this topic? And I was like, no, let's just find out what the kids know. We don't even know what our own kids know. And the fact that people are opening up these discussions. I mean, I worked in a gay rom-com 2 years ago. I'm the mother in that movie. It's an American production. That movie has helped countless Indian gay kids come out of the closet. The fact that these things are all happening because of the work that we are doing, we were just trying to make a living. I'm being honest. Like, we were not trying to launch a movement or anything. We were in such financial dire straits when my husband lost his job. We thought we had savings, but when you don't have income, the savings go so fast. You don't realize it. It bleeds like Niagara Falls. I remember waking up and like our 401k was down. Everything felt like our real estate market crashed around us. We couldn't even move. All we were trying to do is make an honest living with integrity, but we kind of entered the space. And now we're in a place where all we want to do is serve our audience, because it has been so underserved. Like, as soon as Zoya came on board, I said, Zoya, what's a digital thing you can create to serve our audience? And we realized that our audience loves word games. They even in their free time want to do spelling bees. So we launched a word game right away.
And it got like 10,000 plays in like one night. I remember we launched it, and it was like everyone was competing to get the A grade on the Zarna Garg word game. And it was people were writing in messages, like, because some of the letters could spell a different word, and they had missed a few seconds that they could have gotten if that word had been accepted. I was getting angry messages from wives of husbands who hadn't gotten their correct ranking. And I was like, wow, our community is the best. I mean, this is a little bit of a hot take. It's a little bit of a hot take, but I think all of you will appreciate it. I think that we're too soft on American kids now. I think we are. I think that's one of the things that's really not a good thing about, I don't know why it's the case. My mom has always been extremely hard on me, and I'm so grateful that she set such a high standard. Like, can you imagine this woman in my senior year of college was like, sell 10,000 pre-orders? Like, that is an absurd, all these parents are like, how could you just expect your kid to do that for you? But it was so obvious. I was like, oh yeah, totally. Like, we're gonna do that now, okay? Like, that makes sense.
We're building something real here, one episode at a time. If you want to be part of it, subscribe. It's free, it matters, and we're just getting started.
Well, Zoya, I love the fact that you and your mom have such a loving and very close relationship. I also love the fact
there's a lot of fighting. Like, there's
a lot of fighting.
Oh my God! But we save that for the TikTok. We save it.
Yeah.
We don't fight unless we can monetize it anymore.
But like behind the scenes, if you're getting ready to have a heated discussion, is it like a part of you is like, wait a minute, let's save it. Let's save it let's save it. This is really good.
No, every part of me. It's not a small part. It's a big part. It's like, turn that camera on right now.
I am the mature one in our fights, though. She'll unshare her Find My Location with me. She'll unfollow me on Instagram. She'll message my brothers. By the way, I'm never talking to your sister again. Please, like, let her know that I feel that way. Like, she's wild. This type of fighting style is wild.
And I tell them, I'm like, choose a side and publicly announce which side you're on.
Tell people on Instagram whose side you're on.
It wasn't until you went to Stanford 3,000 miles away from your mom that you realized that not every child has the same relationship with their mother as you do with your mother, of course. In that case, obviously, a lot of kids were making decisions without consulting their mother first. So what's some of the best advice that your mom's given you?
The best piece of advice my mom gave me was to start working full-time as quickly as possible and treat college as almost this social club opportunity. You know, like, this is also a bit of a hot take, but in my senior year, when I was running this pre-order process, I got really bad grades. My teachers loved me because I loved school so much. Like, I would always be like, can I submit my essay 4 weeks in advance, or can I take the exam on this day? And I was constantly missing class because I was, flying all over the world. But she was like, I think that you'll learn more by working full time, and you should treat college as an opportunity to, like, meet amazing people and to create great relationships with your professors and nurture your education. But you're not here to get, like, perfect grades. You're here to, like, complete your degree and find out how to, like, graduate and start being useful in the workforce. Learning how to be useful now is really hard. It used to be that you could be useful by just, like, getting a law degree, and then you'd be useful in law, or, like, becoming a doctor, then you'd be useful there. But, like, now, how do you even be useful and productive? This is, like, a big top of mind question. And so she was like, you need to figure this out as soon as possible. So I'm glad she pushed me to work full time sooner rather than later.
Wow. Zoya, I want to talk about the family podcast that you both referenced with your mom, your dad, your two brothers. On the show, your mom has talked about the wait list for friendship. You're on the list, but your brother Bridge is always number one.
Yes.
Well,
now, you are the COO, right, of her company? And
yes.
Ran her best, told us you ran her best-selling book campaign. You're building an empire with her. What would it take to make it to be number one?
I will never beat the eldest son. There's no chance.
Okay.
He can just sit there and look pretty, and that's all he has to do. I mean, he's actually the most wonderful human being, and I think we all cherish Bridge for his fearlessness and all sorts of qualities that I wish I had in myself. But he has been above me on this best friend waiting list for years, and I don't know what it'll take. I mean, Mom, what will it take? Tell me. I will do it.
You cannot disclose the terms. This is we review it every year. It's under review. You're getting there. You complain a lot. That's not helping you.
Is there a topic, Zarna, that comes up on the podcast that's the one argument that will never be settled?
Oh, so many. My husband had a Wall Street job. He was dying when he found out that I was advising Zoya not to take a corporate job. I thought he was going to pass out from the stress. Because he's like, what do you mean? She's getting the best jobs out of why would she not take those jobs? And I take a very different position. I'm extremely entrepreneurial. Even through all my failures, I never once thought I should go and work for somebody else. It's just never made sense to me.
Zarna, you said that you wrote your memoir, This American Woman, for the women who feel stuck, for the stay-at-home moms who feel like they don't know where to turn, for the daughters who feel like, where is their roadmap in life? What do you want other women to know about starting over, particularly if they feel like they've missed their window?
I really did write the book for those women and men. A lot of men now have approached me and said they also feel stuck. You can start over anytime. There's never been a better time to start because social media, the internet has made it possible for even moms. Like I'm of the generation as the rest of us are, except for Zoya and this group, where it's like remote work was not a thing. It was just not like my first law job. I remember if I wasn't first on the desk, I panicked. Like every morning you had to put the suit on and the high heels and run to work and be the first in the door and last out. That's all gone, and for the better. Today you can have a little baby and you can start a business in the other room while the baby is sleeping. It's extremely viable. This is not just ideas in the air anymore. This is being done every day by people. I mean, if, God forbid, someday my stand-up comedy career was to be affected in some way, I foresee myself running an entirely digital business. It's very possible today. And I wrote this book to give people hope. I mean, look at me. There's nothing perfect about me. I have an accent. I started at 44, 45. I wear a bindi. I wear my weird clothes everywhere I go. But I found that little spot in the world that feels like they're being seen through me. And then that became my business. And I think that is true for every single one of us has something that we represent, that we can do, we can be of service to, and we can charge money for it. I mean, the cliche is it's never too late. But it really is not, because if you win the day you die, you still won. I mean, there's no end game here. There's no flag you're going to cross. There's no finish line. The finish line is death, but that can come whenever, But things are figure-outable. That's the point. And like with the rare exception, yes, although this one, now with the airline industry in America, I was going to say flying an airplane, not figure-outable. But lately, I've had so many delays, I started YouTubing how to fly an airplane.
That's insane.
I'm like, somebody's got to figure this out. Like, I cannot keep getting bumped around like this. But 9 out of 10 things are figure-outable. And it's like, you can sit there and be consumed by the overwhelming nature of being stuck, or say to yourself, I'm going to take that one tiny step, the smallest tiny step, every day. And then those tiny steps, before you know it, will compound. Like they will lead to the next thing and the next thing, and like a whole future that might open up for you. And my book is written, the entire book is written from that perspective. I didn't have any desire to share my life story otherwise. Like I'm not running for office or anything, right? Like, what do I care if anybody knows my story or not? But I wrote it from the perspective of this is how I got unstuck in all these various situations. And hopefully this helps the people who read it.
Zoya, before we wrap, I just want to ask you a final question, and it's very important.
Yes.
So what would happen, truly happen, if your mother-in-law came to visit?
It would be so bad. It would be, first of all, if I had advance warning, which now she tends not to give me much, I would plan my own business trip. Yeah. 25 years, my husband, she would visit and he would be away on business a lot, suspiciously, while she was in America with me. Now I would reverse it and be like, you know what? You have fun with your mother. Let me plan some shows. Let me go to Bismarck, North Dakota. I hadn't been there. But I think if she came to visit, she's actually a very, very smart woman. If I put the jokes aside, she's a very, very smart. But she raised 2 boys in poverty in India and grew them through education and all of it to where they are today. I think we have a great camaraderie, my mother-in-law and I. Before I released my first comedy special, it has some hard jokes about her. I did take her blessings. I would never blindside anybody like that in my life. I have too much love for everybody in my life to do that. So I think in the end, it would be a good thing. I think the problems she would have now would be with my kids, because she's very openly biased towards my older son. And these American kids, they don't just take it. Like in India, the kids just take it. They're like, that's grandma. Here, the kids fight back. It's like, why did you do that? And what did you mean? And like, I would leave her to deal with it with them.
Well, Zarna, Zoya, thank you for this joyful, honest, and deeply inspiring conversation. Zarna, your journey proves that it's never too late to take a leap of faith, especially with your own voice, and of course, to start again. And in doing so, you're giving daughters of immigrant families all around the world permission to speak more openly and to dream more freely with their parents. Zoya, we've loved having you, your belief in your mom, seeing her not just as a parent, but also as a person whose dreams are worth fighting for has been deeply inspirational to us. Together, you've shown that legacy is built through courage, laughter, and choosing to grow side by side. Thank you for living your legacy.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having us. This is such a wonderful podcast. We love it. And we're so honored to be a part of it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a moment.